You remember the old caricature you would see, and there was a basis of truth in it, where the guy with the raincoat, in front of the kids, he goes up in front of the kids, he opens his raincoat and he's naked. That guy, if the neighbors caught him, that guy would be lucky if he made it to jail, because that guy was such a threat, such a vile threat to their children, that they were going to get him. They were going to stop him. Okay. Now we've got those people making official decisions, going into classrooms and things like this. And what's happening? Well, we've got to discuss this. We need to get a judge to admit that there's something wrong with this. Otherwise, we can't do anything about it. We are literally, you go back to the Old Testament, and the Moabites were sacrificing their own children on altars to Baal. They were literally burning them alive. And they've gone into, so the archaeologists have gone into some gruesome detail about what that entailed. We're at that same point with our own children. We're letting this stuff happen, and we're talking about it. Well, we're talking about it. And when I say we, I'm talking about the collective community. We're talking about it as if, well, maybe they've got a point. They are doing vile things to children that we never should have allowed. And frankly, my kids are all grown up. But if somebody came at my kid with a threat like that, I would have stopped them. I was going to stop them.
Yeah, and that's it's even in this town.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm right across from the library where they have these books on men having babies and things like that.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and we're paying for that.
It's outrageous, and the person that was on city council, who actually came to the show a couple times, she got voted out, and she was the one that was trying to protect the kids.
Well,
so this is
the big money. The big
problem.
money is there. The personal attacks, and here's the problem. And yes, I'm going to go back to my book. Here's the problem: we color inside the lines, but we end up letting them tell us where those lines are at. Let me give you an example now. Referring back to Wyoming, where I used to live. Okay.
Yes.
The legislative.
And you were born in.
And I was born there. I'm a native Wyomingite. So yeah, I'm a Native American. Okay. The legislative argument that the leftists and the RINOs in Wyoming have been making on behalf of all this trans stuff and the boys and the girls locker rooms and all this stuff, we're not going to support a law protecting girls from boys going into their locker room, which is something any decent parent would have fought for only a few years back. We're not going to support that law. Here's their excuse. Well, it's not happening in Wyoming. Okay. So apparently, until some girl comes out and admits she's been raped in the locker room, it's not happening in Wyoming. The point is, it is happening there. It's happening everywhere. But when they use an excuse like this, and our side says, oh, well, okay, if it's not happening, if you say it's not happening, we're just going to back off because I don't want to be controversial.
Well, how about Trump going and defunding Maine, and Maine now has given up. Maine has given up that right now. That BS about we hardly had any problem with it.
Right. We hardly had any problem.
Back down.
Can you imagine if you were running your McDonald's and you said we hardly have any problem with food poisoning? Can you imagine? And yet this is the basis on which these people operate, and we let them get away with it. When you say we hardly, and not you, but when that lefty says we've hardly had any problem with it, what that lefty is saying, we need to call them out on it. You're saying that amount is okay with you and probably more. That's what you're saying. And hardly any problem means you're enabling it. And by golly, I'm going to go after you. And we need to go after them, and we need to use our strength, our voice, and our money to go after those people. And on that, if I could segue into I think the biggest issue of the week, and we need to unmask it in its full ugliness, is Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina. He's not going to support Ed Martin as the DC attorney. Why? Because Ed Martin fought for the rights and the constitutional protections for J6 defendants. Okay, so the little
hell
picture
is that about? This guy's he's an ex-football coach.
The little picture here, though, is that he's just going to oppose this one vote. The big picture, Tom Tillis is reasserting the entire he's reasserting the entire leftist 2020 narrative. Joe Biden was legitimately elected. America wanted socialism. America wanted all of those leftist judges that are fighting to keep the border open and fighting to keep us from deporting these criminals, these gang members. Okay, all of that stuff that is literally has been wreaking havoc on innocent Americans, that those leftist judges and that leftist political establishment is fighting for. Tom Tillis, Republican Tom Tillis, is on their side. And what we've got to do now, it's still early 2025. He's up for election in 2026. People of North Carolina, the people across America, we've got to start now recruiting candidates to replace these RINOs. Because if you wait until spring of 2026, what you're going to have is a bunch of people that that are, maybe a lot of them are well-meaning. They have no clue what they're getting into. They have no clue. They have no savvy about how the process works. And they throw their name in the ring, and you get 6 well-meaning conservatives, and you get 1 RINO in there, and they split. This is in the primary. They split the conservative vote 6 ways, and the RINO wins with 18% of the vote. He wins the primary, and then goes into the general.
Well, you changed that voting situation, didn't you, in Wyoming? That's in some of my notes here.
Well, I will claim some credit for part of it, because I will tell you, there are people there, and you ought to have them on your show too. You'd love them. There's Chip Neiman, who's the Speaker of the House. There's John Baer, who's the chairman of the Wyoming Freedom Caucus, and Jeremy Harrelson, who's a very good personal friend, former pastor of mine out of Wheatland, Wyoming, and he got in and essentially once he beat out an entrenched RINO in the primary, he immediately turned around and started campaigning for the other grassroots conservatives throughout the state running against these entrenched RINOs. And so, yeah, I had some influence there. I did some coaching and some rooting for them. But these guys, they literally have fought this multi-million-dollar, probably Soros-funded, who knows, this Republican establishment in Wyoming that governed like a bunch of Vermont Democrats. These guys went in there and they were like samurai warriors on their best day, going in and slashing and burning amongst the RINOs. And yeah, Wyoming's politics are totally flipping, and we're getting rid of the RINO establishment, getting real conservatives in there, and the Democrats, the leftists, and the RINO Liz Cheney types are having a conniption fit over it.